What does a medical science liaison actually do all day? Not sell anything. An MSL is a scientist embedded inside a drug company, but built to operate almost like an independent research consultant, meeting with the same kind of specialists an oncology rep might see, but having a completely different conversation. This is a real look at that job. Who becomes one, what gets discussed, and the hard compliance line that separates them from every sales rep in the company. Most people in this role hold a PharmD, a PhD, or in some fields, an actual MD. In therapeutic areas like oncology, neurology, and cardiology, a medical degree matters even more because it's what gives an MSL real credibility, sitting across from a specialist physician. This isn't a sales background transitioning into science. It's a science background, often years in a lab or a clinic, transitioning into industry. Structurally, the role doesn't sit anywhere near sales. An MSL reports up through medical affairs, a completely separate chain of command from commercial. There's no sales target, no quota. Performance is measured on scientific activity instead, publication supported, key opinion leaders engaged, insights delivered back to the company. That separation isn't a courtesy, it's a compliance requirement, a firewall between the science and the selling, and it's the foundation everything else about this job is built on. That firewall is also what unlocks the MSL's most distinctive power. A sales rep can only discuss what's on the approved label, full stop. But when a physician asks an unprompted question about an unpublished study, an off-label use, or a pipeline product, that's called an unsolicited request, and it's the MSL who's allowed to answer it. Not because the rules bent, but because the MSL was never bound by promotional rules to begin with. Different job, different rules. So what does that conversation actually sound like? A scientific exchange with a key opinion leader might cover how to interpret a nuanced subgroup result, how real-world outcomes are tracking against the original trial data, the biological mechanism behind a side effect nobody expected, or, under a confidentiality agreement, an early look at where the pipeline is headed. It's peer level, it's technical, and it often runs long, because both people in the room are fluent in the same scientific language. Then there's Congress season. Major medical conferences drop huge amounts of new data in just a few days, and this is where MSL teams are working, staffing scientific information booths, sitting in on key sessions, and turning around same-day briefings back to the company on what just got presented, including from competitors. It's one of the most intense, information-dense stretches of the entire job, compressed into a long weekend several times a year. Sometimes a KOL doesn't just want data, they want to run their own study using the company's molecule. That's called an investigator-initiated study, and the MSL is usually the very first point of contact. They'll discuss the concept, help the investigator think it through, and route it into a formal review process, but the actual proposal has to be written by the physician, not the company. It's support, not authorship. Another line the MSL is careful never to cross. MSL teams also help identify and prepare key opinion leaders for advisory boards, structured sessions where a handful of specialists give the company direct feedback on unmet needs, study design, or how the field is actually evolving. The MSL isn't running the meeting to sell anything. They're helping the company listen systematically to the people treating patients with this disease every single day. And that listening goes both ways. Part of the job is functioning as an early warning system, reporting real-world treatment patterns, emerging safety signals, and unmet clinical needs back to internal medical and research teams. If something in the field looks off before it shows up in a formal report, it's often an MSL who noticed first, simply by being in the room with physicians constantly. MSL teams also support scientific publications, helping investigators develop and refine manuscripts, making sure the science is represented accurately, without steering the message toward anything promotional. It's a careful line, genuine scientific support, not ghostwriting marketing copy in a lab coat. Occasionally, an MSL and a sales rep end up on the same call together, usually when a physician's question spans both the science and the product. But the moment that conversation turns commercial or drifts off-label, one of them has to step out. It's not optional, and it's not improvised. It's a specific compliance rule designed to make sure a promotional conversation and a scientific one never quietly blend into each other. So does the therapeutic area change any of this? The core job doesn't. KOL engagement, unsolicited inquiries, Congress coverage, investigator studies look the same everywhere. What changes is the pace and the landscape. Oncology is the largest single therapeutic area for this role, and it moves fast. New data most weeks, standard of care shifting underneath a physician's feet, a packed calendar of major cancer conferences. Neurology, by comparison, is a smaller share of the field, and depending on the subspecialty, the pace can be very different. Its own conferences, its own diagnostic tools, its own community of specialists. Same job description, different rhythm entirely. Put a day together, and it looks like this. Start by reviewing overnight literature and trial updates in the therapeutic area. Prepare for an afternoon meeting with a key opinion leader, pulling together data to discuss an unpublished mechanism of action question they raised last time. Sit through that meeting and hear about a study idea the KOL wants to run themselves. Now it's headed toward the investigator-initiated study process. Join a call to help plan an upcoming advisory board. Log a field insight report before the day ends, flagging a real-world pattern worth internal attention. No pitch, no quota all day. So what does a medical science liaison actually do? They're the part of a drug company built to listen and explain, not sell, walled off from commercial by design, trusted with the off-label conversation a sales rep legally can't have, and judged on science, not numbers. In an industry built around selling, the MSL is the one role explicitly built not to. Thanks for watching. This has been a Life Sciences AI Deep Dive.